Welcome to the HFY Tales channel. Remember to like and subscribe if you like the story. Enjoy and take care.
The intergalactic fair was a spectacle like no other, painted across the velvet canvas of the cosmos. Strange tunes mixed with bursts of laughter and the vibrant glow of thousands of alien lights. Vendors shouted in languages that felt like magic, luring visitors with exotic goods from across the universe. In this chaotic wonderland, Kenneth found himself wandering, mouth agape, eyes wide with the thrill of adventure. He had won his trip through sheer luck, his name drawn from a raffle ticket at a local comic shop back on Earth. Kenneth was a regular guy, a graphic designer with a passion for sci-fi and a yearning for something more. Today, he stood at the precipice of the extraordinary, eager to explore the unknown realms of the galaxy. As he strolled past stalls displaying everything from luminescent fruits to sentient trinkets that hummed when touched, a peculiar glint caught his eye. It was a booth filled with outrageous costumes, each one more outrageous than the last. Laughter ensued as a small, chubby alien tried on the garish outfit while his friends cheered him on. The accidental encounter. Lost in the excitement, Kenneth ventured deeper into the fair, drawn by the sounds of music and celebration. As he turned a corner, he collided with something, a strange, otherworldly presence that made his heart skip a beat. There stood Eleanor, the galaxy's ugliest alien. Pockmarked skin that looked as if it had been molded from clay, and uneven features that didn't conform to any earthly standard of beauty made her stand out, not in the way that typically captured attention, but in the way that made everyone around her turn quickly to avoid contact. Her large, expressive eyes, however, held intelligence, determination, and an unexpected warmth. Those eyes darted towards Kenneth's direction. Kenneth immediately felt a strange connection, the kind you can't explain, only feel. He stared, transfixed, utterly forgetting the awkwardness of the moment. What Kenneth didn't know was that in Eleanor's culture, locking eyes was not merely an act of curiosity. It was a profound cultural engagement, akin to a vow of commitment. Without warning, Eleanor gasped, her expression shifting from surprise to horror. A moment later, an attendant rushed forward, shaking their head vigorously. "You can't just look at her. Now you've—" Kenneth, still dazed by Eleanor's otherworldly appearance, was taken aback. "What do you mean, look?" But the words felt heavy in his mouth as the reality of what he had done began to sink in. Eleanor's vibrant culture had rules he could not comprehend. The attendant continued, "You've initiated a mating bond. You'll need to marry her now, or face severe consequences." Kenneth's heart raced, a panic clawing at his chest. "Marry her? But I just—" His protest melted into confusion as he realized the level of absurdity in the situation. Eleanor, blushing a shade of green, cast her gaze downward, not wanting to meet his eyes. "This isn't how I wanted it to happen," she murmured, visibly distressed. Kenneth took a moment to process. He found himself staring at Eleanor, and under the bizarre social construct, it occurred to him. He had no choice but to understand this algorithm of fate. His wandering heart now felt anchored to an alien he didn't know. But somehow, deep down, he sensed there was more to her than others saw. Eleanor was not always comfortable in her own skin. As a child, she had dreamed of adventure and exploration much like Kenneth, but had found herself to be an outsider. Growing up in a society that placed immense value on physical beauty, she had been the subject of mockery. The harsh realities of her existence weighed on her heart, leaving her feeling isolated even in her own community. She watched other aliens flaunting their appealing features, shimmering scales, glowing tentacles, and perfectly symmetrical faces. Eleanor, on the other hand, had been born with a combination of features that society deemed unattractive. Yet beneath her unconventional exterior lay a vibrant intelligence and a courageous spirit. She had become skilled in many areas, science, arts, even philosophy, while wrestling with the belief that her appearance was a barrier to connection. Her time at the fair was supposed to be an opportunity to change that perception, to find camaraderie among her kind. However, her newfound hope quickly dissipated as she sensed the reactions of those around her, most aligned with their belief that beauty defined worth. It made her cautious and introverted, but deep within, Eleanor longed for acceptance, a desire shared by many. Then, everything changed when she unintentionally caught the attention of the human Kenneth. The very moment their eyes met, a rush of something indescribable coursed through her. The warmth of his gaze made her feel seen. In an instant, the tragic weight of societal expectations faded, leaving only an exhilarating possibility of understanding. But the attendant's reaction had pulled her back into the harshness of reality. The concept of marriage without choice clashed with Eleanor's desires. The laws of her people were strict and unwavering. Their customs defined mating bonds as agreements signified by visual contact, sacred in nature. And now, she was thrust into an unimaginable situation where she had to marry someone she had only just met. Standing beside Kenneth, she felt a flurry of emotions. Would he simply reject her? Or worse, would he feel trapped, forced into a reality he never desired? Yet amid the turmoil, she sensed a flicker of hope. Perhaps this human, who didn't belong to her world, could see the beauty in her soul that others failed to recognize. As Kenneth's expression shifted from confusion to resolve, Eleanor felt her heart race. He wore an expression of determination, but was likely battling his own doubts about this sudden union. Eleanor bit her lip, glancing at the ground. What would she say? How could she bridge the gap between their worlds when she had spent her life feeling inadequate? "I'm sorry," she finally managed to utter, her voice barely above a whisper. "This wasn't how I intended for us to meet." Kenneth looked at her, a softness in his gaze. "It's okay," he said earnestly. "I mean, it's not okay. But I want to understand. Maybe we can figure this out together?" Eleanor blinked, caught by the sincerity in Kenneth's words. Could he truly be so accepting? Could he see her for who she was beyond the surface? With a gentle nod, she began to explain her culture's customs, the significance of mating bonds, and her fears of being judged. The more they spoke, the deeper the connection grew. Kenneth listened intently, asking questions, showing a genuine interest in her life, her experiences, and her struggles. He confided that he had always felt like an outsider himself, often misunderstood for his interests and passions for the fantastical. As they shared their stories, laughter began to weave its way between their words, an unexpected warmth that made the prospect of their forced marriage feel less like a punishment and more like a shared journey. In a galaxy filled with contrasting perceptions, perhaps this peculiar union would allow them to navigate their worlds together. The afternoon sun, the color of molten gold, bathed the fair in a warm hue as Kenneth and Eleanor sat together beneath a canopy of alien flowers. Their lively conversation had opened a window of understanding, but the shadows of unavoidable reality loomed large. Soon enough, they would have to confront the bureaucratic aspects of their shocking engagement. Kenneth learned that Eleanor's society took commitment seriously. Once a mating bond was established through eye contact, the couple was expected to marry within a predetermined timeline, as dictated by the governing council of her planet, Zyranthia. Ancient laws deemed it a matter of honor and respect. To refuse such a bond was not only seen as a personal affront, but could lead to severe penalties for both parties involved. "Could we possibly refuse?" Kenneth asked, his brow furrowing with concern. Eleanor sighed, pulling nervously at a strand of her tangled hair. "The only way to refuse is to publicly declare that the bond was made under false pretenses, essentially a lie. But neither of us can say that. It was an accident, but it feels complicated." As evening fell, they were summoned to the council chamber, the place that would determine their fates. The towering alien structures glistened with bioluminescence, each one humming softly, alive with energy. Kenneth marveled at the architecture, feeling dwarfed by the heights and the significance of the place. Upon entering the chamber, they were met by the council, an imposing group of alien judges adorned in regal attire. Kenneth felt increasingly intimidated as they took their seats, glancing at one another with their piercing eyes. The tension in the room was thick, and he could hear the ancient whispers of tradition echoing off the walls. "Witnesses have confirmed the mating bond," one of the council members proclaimed, their voice echoing with authority. "You will be brought before the communal hearth to formalize your union. The bond cannot be broken without consequence. Kenneth, do you accept this union with Eleanor?" Kenneth's heart raced. I didn't really have a choice, did I? The council exchanged knowing glances before the elder spoke again. This is indeed true, but understand this. While you might feel compelled, you are also entering a realm of privilege. You will experience cross-cultural intimacy and provide strength to one another. After the council session, Kenneth walked in a haze, his mind racing. The weight of impending marriage felt unbearable. Eleanor noticed his expression, a mixture of frustration and uncertainty. It's okay. You don't have to feel obligated to go through with this, she said softly, her voice laced with empathy. If you don't want this, I can find a way to de-escalate it, but... Kenneth sighed, meeting her gaze. It's not about that. You may not realize, but you've shown me more kindness in this encounter than many have in a lifetime. I don't want to reject that. I just didn't plan for any of this. Eleanor smiled gently, her eyes glistening. Neither did I. But perhaps we can use this as an opportunity to learn from one another. Despite the towering expectations above them, a semblance of hope flickered in Kenneth's chest. Maybe they could forge something beautiful out of this chaos. As the day passed, Kenneth and Eleanor struck up a plan. They would go through the marriage ceremony, but their approach would be different. They would use it as an exploration of their lives, their cultures, and their unique identities. At the heart of it all, they would redefine what this marriage meant for them. With determination, they visited the vendor stalls. Kenneth introduced Eleanor to Earth snacks, like caramel popcorn and gummy bears, while she shared alien delicacies that tingled on his tongue. They laughed, made fun of each other's quirks, and slowly began carving out an understanding that crackled like energy between two stars. As the evening descended and the lights of the fair illuminated the sky, Kenneth caught Eleanor's gaze, no fear, only curiosity and excitement. Together they stood at the edge of the abyss, ready to embark on an absurd journey that, against all odds, might lead them toward something remarkable. The days leading up to the wedding were a whirlwind of activity. Kenneth and Eleanor navigated the intricacies of her society's traditions and customs, with alternating moments of tension and laughter. The dichotomy of their experiences became a source of connection, and they quickly learned to appreciate each other's quirks. Yet underneath the playful banter, uncertainty lingered. Kenneth found himself caught between a sense of obligation and the thrilling prospect of exploring a genuine relationship with Eleanor. Walking the streets of Zyranthia, he was introduced to traditions steeped in history, from the elegant dances performed during monthly festivals to the art of crafting intertwining bracelets made from woven vines that symbolized unity. Every evening, they found a quiet spot near an iridescent pond, where the water reflected stars that felt impossibly close to the ground. It became their sacred space to share thoughts, fears, and dreams. But Kenneth couldn't shake the feeling that he was merely playing a part in a cosmic joke. After all, he had stumbled into this engagement without warning. How could he build an authentic bond? One evening as they sat by the pond, Eleanor decided it was time to introduce him to a cultural rite of passage, an ancient storytelling tradition called the Weaving of Fates. In this ritual, families shared tales of their ancestors by spinning stories around a communal fire, intertwining truths with myths to reflect their values and aspirations. I want to share a story of my family, Eleanor said, excitement gleaming in her eyes. It's a story about bravery, love, and the strange way our lives are woven together. Please do, Kenneth replied, intrigued. As she spoke, her voice danced over the water, mingling with the gentle rustle of leaves. Eleanor told of her family's struggles and triumphs, how their ancestors forged alliances with others despite differences. She shared the tale of an elderly matriarch who faced obstacles with steadfast determination, loving acceptance, and unwavering resolve. Each tale folded beautifully into the next, connecting threads of her history more profoundly than Kenneth had ever expected. You have a beautiful way of weaving your experiences together, Kenneth admired. I've never met anyone with such an interesting family history. As Kenneth opened up about his own upbringing, sharing his childhood dreams of space travel and his fascination with science fiction worlds, he felt more at ease. He spoke of the loneliness that often shadowed him, how friendships in his life felt superficial despite his passion for stories and creativity. Eleanor listened intently, nodding as if she understood each nuance of his feelings. "It's a universal truth. We all long for a connection," she replied softly, "to truly be seen." In that moment, Kenneth realized that Eleanor understood him on levels he didn't think possible. The initial awkwardness of their first encounter became a distant memory. Throughout the days leading to the wedding, they collaborated on a project, a shared painting that blended their artistic styles. Kenneth introduced Eleanor to colored pencil techniques he had mastered over the years, while she used her innate ability to create shapes and forms he could never dream of. They transformed a blank canvas into a swirling blend of colors, representing their personalities, cultures, and growing bond. The creative collaboration ignited sparks. Eleanor discovered a part of herself she hadn't realized she was missing. She laughed and wondered openly how someone like Kenneth could appreciate beauty in the unconventional, while Kenneth felt liberated to express his thoughts and creativity without fear of judgment. But the path to connection was not without challenges. As they painted, rumors began circulating among the community about their impending union. Whispers of doubt about Kenneth's intentions and Eleanor's worthiness reached their ears, creating echoes of anxiety that threatened to overshadow their intentions. "I can't believe they think I'm the one out to manipulate you," Eleanor whispered one day, frustration marking her features. "I wanted this union to be a source of strength for both of us, a message that beauty comes in all forms." Kenneth reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. "You don't have to carry this alone. We need to show them who we really are. Our story doesn't belong to their expectations." In that moment, a resolve formed within them both to confront the prejudice and unlock the bonds of misunderstanding that tethered their people. The morning of the wedding dawned with a surreal golden glow, casting an enchanting light across Zyranthia. Kenneth and Eleanor stood in the vibrant ceremonial hall, adorned with greenery and vibrant flowers that symbolized life, growth, and unity. As the council awaited them, a palpable mix of excitement and anxiety filled the air. Eleanor wore a striking gown woven from luminescent threads that shimmered against her skin. Kenneth felt an overwhelming sense of pride watching her, yet the weight of impending marriage loomed larger than before. As they prepared for the ceremony, they recalled the deeper layers of their bond and the complexities surrounding their mating. The council elder began the proceedings, explaining the significance of their union. "In the eyes of our people, today marks the official binding of two destinies, a mating beneath the watchful universe. This will not only strengthen the bond of your hearts, but will weave together the fates of your worlds." Kenneth's mind raced as the elder spoke. The word mating resonated deeply, sparking both excitement and trepidation. Eleanor's eyes shimmered with anticipation, and Kenneth realized that this ceremony held the power to reshape their lives. As the rituals progressed, Kenneth and Eleanor participated in traditions that included sharing food and exchanging personal vows. Each exchange brought them closer. Eleanor spoke of tradition. Kenneth spoke of dreams. They repeated the sacred oaths with sincerity, reflecting on how they chose to honor each other as partners. With every vow spoken, the concept of mating shifted from obligation to celebration. Kenneth leaned close, whispering, "No matter the doubts others may have, I want this to mean something real for us." Eleanor took a deep breath, her heart racing. "We'll create our own definitions. It's about how we choose to love and support one another." Finally came the moment of physical connection, an act proclaimed as integral to the mating bond. They would share a kiss, sealing their vows and solidifying their commitment. As they leaned in, Kenneth felt a mix of exhilaration and vulnerability. Their lips met, and the world around them faded. The union became an electric connection, charged with the hopes and dreams of their worlds as they melded together in a moment that transcended cultural boundaries. The crowd erupted in cheers as the bond was officially sealed, and Kenneth and Eleanor turned to face their supporters. There was a transformative shift in their relationship. They had forged not only a mating bond but a promise to navigate complexities together. The celebration following Kenneth and Eleanor's wedding was extravagant. The festivities echoed with laughter, music, and colorful displays of light. Kenneth couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder at the inclusive celebrations among Eleanor's community. As the day unfolded, he found himself swept up in the joy surrounding their mating bond, yet the undercurrents of doubt persisted. During the festivities, whispers grew louder. Dissenters among the guests, naysayers who questioned the integrity of their union. One particularly vocal faction, convinced of Eleanor's ugliness, expressed doubts about Kenneth's intentions. "Surely, he cannot be here for anything but self-gain," they opined, their cruel words seeping into the atmosphere. As the couple danced under the luminescent sky, Kenneth caught wind of the murmurs. His heart clenched. He had come to love Eleanor for who she was, and witnessing the dehumanizing judgment crushed him. With a resolve that formed from love and anger, Kenneth stepped forward, gathering the attention of the crowd. "I may have stumbled into this marriage by accident, but I will not stand here while anyone disrespects Eleanor. She is magnificent, not just in appearance, but in spirit and heart." Eleanor stood beside him, her heart soaring with pride as he defended her. She had always feared rejection, yet here was Kenneth, boldly proclaiming the truth of their bond. The dissenting faction was livid, their objections reached a fever pitch. "This union is a disgrace. You can't see the truth beneath the facade," they shouted, attempting to drown out Kenneth's voice. But his words resonated deeply within Eleanor, igniting strength she didn't know she possessed. "Our love transcends mere appearances," she responded passionately, stepping into the spotlight beside Kenneth. "Beauty resides in the heart, in kindness and understanding. Isn't that what we should celebrate?" A hush fell over the crowd as her words sunk in. The fight against prejudice began to awaken hesitant nods among the audience, as a shift happened in the atmosphere, a gradual recognition of their shared humanity. In that moment, surrounded by uncertainty, yet buoyed by each other, Kenneth and Eleanor declared their commitment not only to each other, but to the principles of love that unite all beings, even the ones deemed outsiders. "We will not conform to your judgments," Kenneth announced, his voice steady. "We'll build bridges and celebrate the values of acceptance and understanding." The crowd began to murmur, hesitation giving way to intrigue. Some began to applaud, and slowly, doubt transformed into support. Eleanor, feeling the swell of confidence, took Kenneth's hand. "Let's create a new narrative, a new legacy. Together, we can challenge the outdated beliefs of this society." In that pivotal moment, they found themselves more than just an accidental pairing. They were representatives of change, a movement that could alter perceptions across their worlds. With the tensions of the wedding behind them, Kenneth and Eleanor settled into their new life as mates, both within the confines of Eleanor's society and in their own hearts. Much to their surprise, the backlash they had feared transformed into a community that began to embrace the change they represented. Kenneth's presence became a beacon of curiosity, fostering dialogues about beauty, acceptance, and love. Eleanor thrived as well. No longer burdened by feelings of inadequacy or alienation, she learned to take pride in her appearance and essence. Her relationship with Kenneth offered her the support she had always longed for, allowing her to stand tall against societal norms. Together, they merged aspects of their cultures, crafting a unique life that intertwined human traditions with the customs of Zyranthia. Kenneth introduced Eleanor to Earth-style celebrations, complete with music and games that made people laugh, while she brought him into her world of vibrant storytelling and ceremonial rites. As they celebrated their first festival together as a couple, Kenneth proposed they send colorful notes reflecting their shared experiences into the flames of the communal bonfire, creating a symbol of unity between their peoples. "I want the world to see that our love exists beyond aesthetic," Kenneth declared as he tossed his note into the fire. "It's about connection and empathy." Eleanor smiled, feeling the warmth of love radiate from Kenneth as they watched their notes join the flames, a blend of colors dancing in the night sky, a representation of their thriving bond. As days turned into months, their relationship continued to inspire acceptance within Eleanor's community. Many began to approach Kenneth, initially wary, and share their stories, dreams, and struggles with him. Kenneth and Eleanor became advocates for diversity, emphasizing that beauty could come in many forms, drawing connections across the galaxy. They learned how to communicate about the structures of love, breaking down misconceptions and creating ripples of understanding. Standing together on a hill overlooking a vast expanse of Zyranthia, Kenneth took Eleanor's hand, reflecting on the journey they had shared. "Can you believe how far we've come? We started as strangers bound by the strangest of circumstances," he mused. Eleanor looked up at him, her heart full. "And now we're changing the fabric of our worlds. Who would have thought?" As the dual moons illuminated the night sky, they exchanged a knowing glance, their bond stronger than any binding law. Kenneth knew that true beauty lay not in the eye of the beholder, but in the stories woven between their lives. "I'll never be bound by convention again," Kenneth promised, feeling the weight of his words. "With you, I've found my place." Eleanor smiled, leaning in for a kiss. In the midst of their journey, they had discovered the depths of love, acceptance, and the true meaning of matrimony, their cosmic adventure just beginning. As Kenneth and Eleanor continued their journey, they established an intergalactic community center that celebrated diversity and cultural exchanges. They invited beings from all races, humans, aliens, and everyone in between, creating an inclusive space where stories and experiences were shared. The community center burgeoned with creativity. Art classes, storytelling sessions, and culinary nights became staples. Kenneth and Eleanor became mentors, sharing their own stories and encouraging individuals to embrace their uniqueness. Their efforts began to stir conversations in neighboring regions. Advocacy for acceptance spread like wildfire, inspiring others to embrace differences rather than fear them. While some dissidents remained, the positive impact of Kenneth and Eleanor's union was undeniable. Their relationship became emblematic of a new dawn, an era where love triumphed over prejudice, igniting passion and empathy in every corner of the galaxy. Despite progress, not everyone welcomed the change with open arms. A faction opposed to the notion of unity emerged, spreading discontent among those still clinging to outdated beliefs. They plotted to dismantle the community center, questioning the integrity of Kenneth and Eleanor's marriage. One evening, as Kenneth and Eleanor were closing up their center, they faced the angry opposition. "You think you can redefine beauty?" one leader shouted. "You're nothing but a joke." Both terrified and defiant, Kenneth instinctively stepped closer to Eleanor. "This unity is not about redefining beauty. It's about understanding that love and acceptance are limitless." Eleanor echoed, "Our cultures might differ, but our hearts can still connect. This bond symbolizes hope, and we won't give in to hatred." In that powerful moment, they stood as a united front, willing to confront adversity together. Fueled by their convictions, Kenneth and Eleanor worked tirelessly to rally supporters. They held community meetings, providing spaces for dialogue and healing. Slowly, the tide began to turn. More residents joined their cause, sparking solidarity across the community. In a climactic gathering, the dissenting faction faced overwhelming support for inclusivity, leading to a resolution that reinforced the value of unity and understanding. With newfound strength, Kenneth and Eleanor's community center became a beacon of hope. They established programs for youth, ensuring future generations learned the importance of empathy and respect for diversity. As the years passed, they celebrated the success of their union, knowing that their love had catalyzed a movement that transcended boundaries. Years later, standing hand in hand overlooking the celebrations of a festival dedicated to unity, Kenneth and Eleanor marveled at the change they had inspired. The faces of children, both human and alien, danced joyfully, each unique, each embraced. "Who would have thought our accidental journey would lead to this?" Kenneth said, a smile illuminating his face. Eleanor squeezed his hand. "This is just the beginning. Love is a powerful force, capable of overcoming anything, whether it's space or prejudice." As the stars twinkled above, Kenneth and Eleanor looked forward to new adventures, aware that their bond would forever be an anchor in an ever-expanding universe. Together, they would continue to challenge conventions, create deeper connections, and nurture a legacy of love, a testament to what truly brings beings together.